Okay, welcome back to Violent Money TV. Today I am joined by Adam Cullen, who returns at Cage Warriors 180 on November 15th in London. I mean, enough said about this fight. I don't feel like we need to hype it up that much. When this one was announced, it was like, oh my God, that is a ridiculous matchup. What was your reaction to getting it through? Because I'm sure you had the same kind of reaction as we did when we found out it was going to happen. Just like, sign me up for that one.
Yeah, man, it's an exciting one, isn't it? Like the fights I've been screaming for a long, long time. Um, yeah, the Ian Dean sent through the option to fight Tobias, and I was fucking well up for it straight away. And the good thing is, a lot of times, we get offered names and accept them, and they don't wanna know. Do you know what I mean? But when you see Tobias's name on the sheet, you know he's fucking game. So yeah, man, I was up for it, so up for it, and I seen that and thought, what a chance to show how good I am and put on an exciting fight for all the fans.
It feels like we've had to, like, despite the fact you've got a lot of experience in Cage Warriors now, it does feel like we've had to wait a little bit longer to get, when people look at the layout of the division and they go, oh, can you imagine seeing Adam and Tobias? It feels like we've had to wait a while to get to those kind of fights for yourself. I'm sure that I feel like part of that is the fact that opponents always do pull out on you. And so it's almost like you've got to adjust at such a quick turnaround that it's like it's really hard to plot a next logical step for you because you're constantly switching who you're fighting. That it's like
Yeah,
there isn't really a through line for your career in Cage Warriors. It's like where he was fighting this guy, then he fought this guy, and then you think, okay, well, a win over this guy, you're probably looking at this level, but then that guy pulls out. Like it really has been difficult to kind of work out where we're going. And so with this fight finally being here, it's like, right, we're done with that, hopefully. It's big name opponents. It's these kind of tests now where, like you said, Tobias is an opponent that isn't going anywhere. He's a guy that's had big fights. He's a guy that, you know, is going to show up and he's going to bring it.
yeah. Of course, I've been a victim of my own circumstances. Really, like I feel like what I've done so far in the cage has spoke volumes. So therefore, I've had these opponents and matchups, and no one can ever. I don't think I've had a single fight camp in Cage Warriors where from start to finish I've had the same opponent. They've been chopping and changing, and then the victim of the circumstances. I'm getting in the cage with these people who the fans don't know. Then I'll beat them, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, you should have beat them anyway." Or if it doesn't go my way, it's like, "Oh, he's shit," and it's like, "Fucking hell, you can't win." So I'm always in these lose lose situations, and so you win, and everyone's like, "Oh, we should have beat him," but like you never get any credit for that. But Tobias is finally a name that everyone in the UK MMA scene knows. Like his work speaks volumes. He's had big fights. He's stopped big names, and yeah, I'm going to be undeniable once I destroy Tobias on the 15th of November. What are they going to say now?
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about this with the last opponent, Blasco, who like is a guy that his record does not stand out on paper, but you look at some of the fights he's had, he doesn't take easy fights. He fights often, he fights all over the place. Like that guy is the kind of guy that you don't get a lot of credit for winning, even though it's a tough fight. And like you said with Tobias, even just people that follow the UK scene have seen him fight, they know that he's a high level guy. And so, you know, regardless of whether the fight is like a big step up from where you've been, it's going to get treated like that just because Tobias is such a bigger name compared to some of these guys that some of these guys, man, I don't know where Ian Dean finds them. Like that Blasco, I don't know what that guy's made of. That was an absolutely ridiculous fight.
It's crazy, but like if you deep dive into Blasco's record, you realise actually how good he is and how much of
Hmm.
a problem he is. Like the kid's like not being stopped in like fucking 6 years or something ridiculous. But but on the surface you can go, oh, his record this and his record that. But like the reality of the situation is Blasco's always the away fighter. And
Hmm.
after when I was preparing for him, watching some of his bouts, he's lost a lot of decisions that there's not a chance he lost that fight. But being the away fighter, he's been robbed on a few like smaller shows, and that's his record's a bit patchy. But fucking then again, I go and like obviously I'm known for stopping people early, and it took me 13 minutes of pure fucking beat down to put him away. That shows how tough he is. But still, no one will give you that credit. It's always like, oh, why did it take you 13 minutes? You should have stopped in the first round. And it's like, yeah, whatever, man. Do you know what I mean? But finally, yeah, Tobias is one of them names, isn't he? Where like, what are they gonna say now? Like, he's a tough kid. He's beat good people, and I'm gonna smash him. Simple as, and really, show people how good I am because I am world class, and that's a fact.
I feel like that again when people maybe don't give you the credit of the Blasco fight. Um, People who have watched your previous fights know, like you said, how quickly you usually get guys out of there. So the fact that it took you, like you said, 13 minutes of just putting it on him shows how tough Blasco was. Do you think Tobias is a guy that will be able to withstand that? He is a guy that is super aggressive, always goes for the finish like yourself, but I feel like that is the most interesting thing here is the fact that both of you guys are known for putting it on people, and we're going to find out which one of you is able to implement that.
Well, yeah, listen, it's got fireworks written all over it, hasn't it? We're both finishes, and we both go in there to kill people. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. Like, in the days of featherweight coming up, isn't he? And I'm a huge lightweight, so wonder if that'll make play a factor in that. But I'm not worrying too much about what Tobias is and what Tobias isn't because I know what I am,
Mm.
and I'm planning on getting there, and fucking putting it on him from the first bell. And if it takes me 14 minutes and 59 seconds to do it, I'm gonna put him away. So that's the plan.
Does it feel like validation to get this matchup? Because you had all of those crazy first round finishes in a row, couple of setbacks, come back stronger, have some of these really tough guys that no one's heard of that are just so durable and not going anywhere, and guys that are really hard to look good against. Most importantly, so then to get a guy like Tobias, who, if there wasn't issues with him getting into the US and fighting in the US, he would have been on the Contender Series already. Like, this is a guy that's been on the European radar for quite some time, so I'm sure it validates all of the hard work that you've put in and coming back from the adversity, and also having to go out there and fight some of these guys that, like I said, are tough to look good against.
Yeah, well, like let's have it right though. Really, if Tobias would have got on the Contender Series, they'd have signed him because
Mm.
because of the way he fights, is exactly what they're looking for. So Tobias could have been in the UFC now. But really, if we're gonna go into it, like I wish I had a fucking list and released all the names. It's not like Cage Warriors haven't tried to make these big fights for me. I
Yeah.
have been offered name after name, name everyone in the lightweight division, and they've all said no. Do you know what I mean? Or pulled out or whatever before it's been announced. It's not the first time they tried to put me in these big fights, but no one's ever taken the fight with me, and that's why I've ended up with the people that Cage Warriors have never seen, that Cage Warriors fans have never seen before, and I've ended up fighting them. But Tobias is the first time where they've offered me a big name that they've actually reciprocated it and come back and said, yeah, they want to fight. But that's a good thing about Tobias. When you see his name on the sheet of paper, you know what he's bringing, and you know he's not going to pull out. He's not going to cause you. Like that's perfect. That's what you want as an athlete because now I can spend my weeks preparing for Tobias rather than being up in the air training for a fight. Is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? Who's going to get me? Same for the kickboxer and they bring in a fucking BJJ black belt. You can't prepare for that. But in this sense, I'm preparing for someone to come in and swing bombs at me, and I'm going to swing bombs back, and I'm going to take his chin off.
I feel like, it's just the way that the kind of layout for the rest of the year was for Cage Warriors. I feel like this would have been a huge fight if it had been in Manchester. How do you feel about doing it in London? Because it does feel like, as always, those Manchester cards are so next gen heavy. And so obviously there was a Manchester show. I believe that was the last show that Cage Warriors had now, right? When Luke fought, was that the last? I don't remember if they've had one
I
in
think that
between,
was
but
the
that
last.
wasn't that long ago, was it?
Yeah, I think that was the last show. But things happen. Do you know what I mean? The thing is, we've got like a big, successful team,
Mm,
and the problem was Luke Riley was meant to be on Contender Series in Las Vegas on that date,
mm.
and at the same time we had George Staines fighting in Octagon in
Oh
Brno.
yeah, of course you cornered him, didn't you?
So I was always told from the start because I knew I'd be in Vegas with Nathan originally, and then it'd only be like 3 weeks until we were until Cage Warriors Manchester, and
Right.
I had a few injuries and this and that. So Rimmer said to me, "Listen, will you go and corner George Staines because we're going to be in Las Vegas?" So I always knew I wasn't going to be on that card. And again, it is what it is. We've got such a big team, and like everyone has to pull together sometimes and do things for each other in the team. That's how it works. And it's a good thing about being in next gen. that people do that for each other. So I always knew I wasn't going to be on that card, but I was told off Ian Dean, listen, if you don't go on this card, we'll get you a big fight for the end of the year, and this is it. I mean, Tobias is worth fucking how many wins over unrecognizable opponents. So when I get this one, it'll all be worth having that little bit of time away from the cage.
Yeah. How was that trip out to corner George? I completely forgot until now that you and Nathan were out there cornering him. I thought his performance was unbelievable on that night against an experienced guy, and it just so violent, George Staines. I never expect it because he's such a nice, like unassuming guy. But my God, when he gets in there, he goes for the kill. It was a
I,
beautiful win.
he's super talented, George. Like he's super talented, but like a crazy hard work at the same time.
Hmm.
And he's got a bright future. So I spend a lot of time with George, do a lot of training with George. And when I was asked to go and corner him, it was a no brainer because he's such a good lad. But at the same time, he's an easy guy to corner because you know what he's going to do. It was all about just fucking calming him down so he didn't rush his work, and he had the perfect performance. He was the victim of having such a tough kid in front of him because I do not know how we didn't get that kid out of there. He
Yeah.
beat him from pillar to post for 15 minutes and absolutely smashed him up. At the end of the fight, when we got in the cage and the kid come over and his face was destroyed, the cuts were so deep in his face, and his head was like twice the size it was before he started. He absolutely battered them. So yeah, it was really made up for George that night. He put the work in, and really fighting a lad far more experienced than him. I think he fought for like 2 octagon titles and
Yeah.
fought the Who to an octagon, and then and George battered him worse than any of them other guys did. So it was made up for him. It was a good experience to and good to be a part of George's fight like that. Really enjoyed
Was
it.
Was there any concerns that because you were traveling with Nathan, that unexpected travel plans might occur? Because the track record that you guys have had this year, after being stuck in Vegas for 3 weeks, mate, you must have been like, oh, here we go again. Let's get as soon as George wins, we're getting on a plane and getting out of here.
Lad, we couldn't wait to fucking get home after that. I put that Vegas trip, lad. It was just like disaster after disaster. When you think you're going, yeah, Sam, in and out, throw me and fly to America, beat this kid that we know you're gonna beat, and then we'll be fucking back home. Lad, it was just desperate. Nathan just must be a bad omen, lad. He must be cursed. 'Cause that kid's had some fucking bad luck. But hopefully the tide's turning for him now anyway. Like, but yeah, he's just the unluckiest kid I've ever met in my life, that Nathan.
Yeah, yeah, for real. The last thing to touch on, obviously, the fact that there isn't a Manchester event coming up means that we have got your teammate Liam Gittins also on the same card in London. How do you think he's going to do against Shirzad? I feel like, the fact that they had the tournament to set this fight up, it feels big. If they had just had Shirzad come in as the next contender, I think it still would have been important. But seeing him go through that tournament and now having Liam prep for another title defense, it feels big, this main event.
Yeah, I mean the tournament was only right, wasn't it? Because Sherzad's whatever. I'm not. It's a Sherzad. He hadn't done the work in Cage Warriors. He hadn't beaten the Who's Who, and the fair play to him, he's beaten two tough guys there, Wesley Meyer and Loof in that tournament. So he's up next. But I think I think yet again people seem to be underestimating Liam Gittins, and that's one thing you can't do. You spend enough time with Liam, you realise he is a killer, and like he doesn't come across that way because he's the nicest kid and he's a funny, like jokes around and all that. But if you're a bantamweight and you're locked in a cage with Liam Gittins, you're in for a tough night because he's one resilient, relentless animal. He's an animal in the cage, and he was before he joined our team a good few years back. And now his skill level is through the roof. On top of that, he's got the next gen, skills to go with this crazy, relentless style. And he's a nightmare. Like his nickname says, he is a nightmare. And I think it's going to be a great fight. I
Yeah.
think Liam's going to be far too much for him. Uh, but I also think it would be. I think this shares as might be underestimating a little bit, underestimating Liam a little bit, and I think that's a disaster if you're doing that because one thing you need to make sure when you're coming to fight Liam is you're fucking, you know what I mean? You've got your gum shield in and you're ready for a fucking war because he's coming at you for 25 minutes non-stop.
Yeah. I mean, previous opponents can testify to that. If you aren't prepared for that, you haven't really got an option. He's going to put you through a
No,
war, whether you like it or not. So it's an insane output. I feel like that is going to be a great fight. I appreciate your time as always, mate. This fight against Tobias is fantastic. I think I was probably going to go to this card anyway, but when that was added, it's like, there's no way
got
I'm
it.
missing that one. It's got to be. So I'm made up for you that you get this opportunity as well after having so many of these opponents pull out and stuff like that. Tobias isn't going anywhere. This will be a wicked fight. So all the best for the rest of training camp, mate. And yeah, I'll probably see
Any
you there.
here down in London.
All right. Nice one, mate. Have a good rest of the day. I'll catch you later.
Take it easy. Nice one.
Yeah.